Everyone, Quissy here, and we are now less than a week away until the release of WoW Classic. I mean, I'm a little bit in shock, but still trying to find my best focus and get as much work done as possible before launch. But first, I just want to thank everybody for subbing to my YouTube channel. I just hit 10,000 subscribers last week, and that had been a really long-term goal of mine ever since I created this channel, so truly just want to thank you. It really does mean so much to me. In this video, I want to discuss what we should all expect in Phase 1 of WoW Classic. So to briefly go over the official plans for Phase 1, what we're going to have is obviously the launch, but we're also going to have Molten Core, Onyxia, and Maraudon included in Phase 1. So those are the 4 key points and main focus of Phase 1, but let's examine these a bit more closely and go into a bit more detail between the lines, as well as my predictions on what I think will happen. Let's start with Classic Launch. As we've experienced with past stress tests, I really expect Classic Launch to be very similar to what we saw during the final stress test from a couple of weeks ago. I think that when you log in, select your realm, there may be a bit of a queue depending on the population of your server, but I don't think these queues will last for hours. Community manager Kyvax recently updated us in a post entitled Overcrowded Realm Update, where he stated that Herod and even Whitemane were looking to be massively overpopulated, with login queues perhaps up to and beyond 10,000 players, and possibly much higher than that. On Classic Name Day, I was in a queue of 12,000 and was able to get in under 10 minutes. Will this be an accurate representation of a queue time on Herod, if the population remains the same? If not, I don't see a major issue with a 5 to 10 minute queue time. I remember being in queue for 2 to 3 hours when WoD launched. It gave me time to join the queue, make dinner, shower, prep everything else I needed for the rest of the day. With a smaller queue, you could try to do the same too. Eat some food, take a shower, prep for tomorrow. I don't think the queue times are a make or break, necessarily. You could try to get something positive out of it if you are indeed stuck in one for an extended period of time. That being said, I do remember playing the stress test, and during my live stream, a lot of EU peeps came into my chat and said that their queue times were a lot longer, so we will see. My strategy is just to never log out, so once I'm in, I'm in. What do you guys think about queue times? Do you think they're going to be as big of a deal as the community is kind of warning us about, or do you think that you'll kind of breeze through them pretty quickly once you enter them, even if there is 10,000 people in the queue? But here's the thing, if they are, I really think everything will subside after a week anyway. There's going to be a huge initial rush as soon as Classic launches. I can guarantee that. But the more time that passes, the more numbers and realms will even out. Don't you agree? So, if you're plagued by queue times, don't worry. They will almost certainly subside after a few days. Or a couple weeks tops. I always try to look on the bright side and stay positive. Unless you're trying to power level and get to realm first 60, etc., try to soak everything in and enjoy the experience. Does that sound weird? I mean, listen, we're only getting one Classic launch, right? This is the moment we've been waiting for years. Take a step back. Take a deep breath and enjoy every moment. Listen to that login music while you're in queue, and let it fill you with excitement, fond memories, and hope. Take it in as part of the Classic experience. Just enjoy every moment. For many, looking back on this from the future, this will be an unforgettable day that will be talked about often in conversation. And really, I do hope that you, and myself included, that we could slow everything down a bit in those moments, sit back, and really take this all in. The day is finally approaching, and I couldn't be more excited. I hope you are too. So once you are able to log in, the launch may very well be like the last stress test. For me, in my experience, it was a little slow to log in, some slower than others, and once we did get in, hundreds and hundreds of people started all appearing in the starting area. There was about a 30-second delay. After about 10 minutes or so, like magic, everything seemed to fix itself. So I wouldn't be too surprised if this happened during launch as well. I expect there may be a little bit of a lag right in the very beginning, but after a little while it'll dissipate and things should be fine. If there's zero lag and no login difficulties, I will be very pleasantly surprised. But hey, it's entirely possible. The entire WoW Classic team has been working so diligently leading up to this release. I especially love how communicative they've been with the updates and how they've responded to community concerns. So once we get through any login queues and initial starting zone lag, the race to 60 and world first Classic Ragnaros Kill will begin. And I say world first Classic because obviously Ragnaros has already been killed dating back to Vanilla WoW many times. But in this regard, it is indeed a Classic First Ragnaros Kill. And in my mind, it's kind of everything leading up to the kill, not just the kill itself. Getting the right amount of people attuned to Molten Core, appropriately geared and leveled, getting the right amount of players with the correct Hydraxian Waterlord reputation to douse the flames, farming any sort of fire resistance gear, organizing the raid. Every moment leading up to the kill is all part of this quote-unquote world first race in my mind. The higher end, super hardcore guilds plan to kill Ragnaros before the first lockout. What do you guys think about that? I think it's certainly possible, and I'm sure it'll be done. It'll be super interesting and exciting to see how this unfolds. On the same topic, Onyxia's Lair will be available upon release of Classic WoW. I feel like most people are focusing on the world first Ragnaros kill, and not many people mention Onyxia. Perhaps it's not considered as difficult to kill Onyxia, but in my opinion, what is challenging is the entire attunement process. Depending on your faction, alliance, or horde, the quest chain varies, but it's quite the extensive, epic quest chain with lots of twists, turns, and traveling all over the world, culminating in facing off against General Dracasath, the final boss of Upper Blackrock Spire, to reward you with the Drakefire Amulet, granting you access to Onyxia's Lair so long as it's in your possession. I'm not going to go into step-by-step detail as to how to complete this. There are many amazing written and video guides out there that cover every aspect of this chain for each faction, so be sure to check them out if you're interested in learning more. So we've got our Week 1 Ragnaros Kill and Onyxia. Other content available in Phase 1 is Maraudon. I mean, what can I say about Maraudon? It's such an extensive dungeon with many different sides. We've got a purple side, an orange side, and then the entire Earth Song, Poison Falls area with Princess Theradros and all that. I even wrote a dungeon guide for Mara on classic.wowhead.com. There's a link in the description of this video to my Wowhead guides if you're interested in checking them out. But Mara's great for farming. It drops a lot of really great loot, some considered pre-raid bis, and if there's no usable loot for your group, depending on the drop, it could vendor for a nice amount. A lot of dungeon cleave groups may find themselves grinding in Maraudon, or at least doing a quest run for more XP. So Molten Core, Onyxia, Maraudon are the 3 main bullet points in Blizzard's Phase 1 content release plan, but what else can we expect to see in Phase 1? In my opinion, and many others who I've heard say this, Phase 1 is a very important time to level alts, especially if you're on a PvP server. Why? Well, in Phase 2 is when we'll see the release of the honor system and PvP rank rewards, but no battlegrounds until Phase 3. So what does this mean? The open world is going to be a war zone. Especially if you're on a PvP server. It's most likely going to be a nightmare trying to level in certain areas. People are going to be wanting to farm honor, and they'll have to take to the open world to hunt the opposing faction. My best advice, if you want to level alts on a PvP server, try to get it done in Phase 1. Again, we don't know the length of Phase 1, I'm guessing it's going to be about 3 months, maybe a little bit more. If you level at a decent pace, you can most likely get at least 2 characters to 60 in that time. My advice is to definitely try to get that done in Phase 1, because once Phase 2 hits, prepare for crazy amounts of world PvP, especially once you get to the higher levels. Phase 2 will not be a good time to level alts on a PvP server. This may subside a bit once Alterac Valley and Warsong Gulch get released in Phase 3. There'll probably be a significantly less amount of world PvP going on, but just be wary of what's being released in each phase, because it may have a huge impact on your leveling. Again, this is mostly aimed at PvP servers, but just a heads up. Phase 1 will also be a good time to farm professions. Of course, if you're planning to level as quickly as possible, it's generally recommended to not pick up professions until after you've hit 60. But if you're not into super speed power leveling, I usually recommend picking up skinning with either mining or herbalism to farm while leveling. Having 2 gathering professions is an easy way to sell your findings on the auction house and thus make a quick profit. Why not herbalism and mining together? You can only track 1 gathering profession on your minimap at once, which could cause a conflict if you have both herbalism and mining. As such, many tend to pair one of those with skinning to prevent overlap. However, players could also mix and match enchanting with tailoring, as neither of those professions are dependent on having a corresponding gathering profession. Enchanting mainly functions by using disenchant on uncommon, rare, and epic quality items to produce their own trade materials, but is typically difficult to level up, and could be very expensive. Tailoring mainly utilizes the use of various cloths such as linen, wool, silk, mageweave, rune cloth, and more for recipes. However, with enchanting, you could use your tailoring crafted items for materials to disenchant, so those 2 professions together are another popular choice to pair up. The rest of the professions, alchemy, blacksmithing, engineering, leatherworking, while still can all be lucrative in their own ways, are way more dependent on having a corresponding gathering profession to funnel trade materials to. And on top of that, you will use up trade materials in exchange for leveling those professions. So it's really up to you to decide. Speed leveling, no professions are recommended. If not, and you want to make some extra gold, grab either of the professions I suggested. And if you aren't dead set on making a huge profit or power leveling and would rather just level up your professions more methodically, choose whatever you'd like. But I bring this up because just like in Alt in Phase 2, the same with farming gathering materials. This could be dangerous on a PvP server once the honor ranking system gets implemented, and the open world will be a war zone. At the end of the day though, it's your decision, and sure, a lot of this is based on whether or not you'll be on a PvP server. I will be, so these are things that I'll be taking into consideration when planning in Phase 1. So this concludes my thoughts on what you should expect in Phase 1 of WoW Classic. What do you guys think? Did I leave anything out? Are there any other variables that you think will be thrown into the mix to make things more interesting? Either way, as I said earlier, we're less than a week away, and I couldn't be more excited. I'm going to be streaming all this week, Eastern Time Zone in the evening, so feel free to tune in. You can hang out at twitch.tv/QuissyTV. And then starting next week, the streams are going to be plentiful. You can also follow me at QuissyTV on Twitter for updates, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel on YouTube if you enjoyed the video and the content. Thanks again for all the support, and I'll see you in Classic.